The Vexian detention facility was unlike any prison Nora had imagined. Crystal walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, creating an ever-shifting array of light and shadow. Her cell was less a cage than a sealed chamber, though the technology keeping her contained was beyond anything she'd encountered. Commander Zixra watched from beyond the energy barrier as Nora examined her surroundings. "Your curiosity does you no credit, human. This is not one of your research expeditions." "Everything's a research expedition if you're passionate enough about science," Nora replied, studying the crystalline structure of the walls. "These formations, they're organically grown, aren't they? Absolutely brilliant engineering." Zixra's four eyes narrowed. "Stop analyzing our technology." "I can't help it. It's literally my job." Nora turned to face the commander. "Just like it's your job to interrogate me, though you seem more interested in watching me work." The commander's iridescent skin flickered with patterns of light. "Anger, perhaps, or embarrassment. You will tell us why Earth sent you to spy on our world." "I already told you. I'm a xenobiologist. I study alien life forms. Your planet simply happened to be in my research sector." Nora stepped closer to the barrier. "Though I have to say, finding an advanced civilization like yours is far more interesting than my original mission. You expect me to believe you crashed here by accident. Would you prefer I had an elaborate plan that somehow involved deliberately crashing my very expensive research vessel?" For a moment, Nora thought she saw the commander's lips twitch. "Your attitude will not serve you here. My attitude serves me everywhere. It's part of my charm." Nora sat cross-legged on the floor. "Now shall we discuss how your species developed crystalline biotech? The applications must be fascinating." "This is not a scientific conference." "Everything's a scientific conference if you ask the right questions." Nora tilted her head. "For instance, why do your emotional states manifest as bioluminescent patterns? The evolutionary advantages must be significant." Zixra's skin flickered rapidly. "How did you?" "Observation, analysis, deduction, the basics of scientific method." Nora smiled. "You're doing it right now, by the way. Those patterns suggest either agitation or intense interest, possibly both." The commander turned away sharply. "You will be questioned by our specialists tomorrow. I suggest you prepare yourself. Will you be there?" Nora called after her. "I'd hate to have to explain all my observations again to someone new." Zixra paused at the doorway. "Your attempts at manipulation are transparent." "Not manipulation, genuine scientific interest. Though I admit, some of that interest is personal." Nora's voice softened. "You're quite fascinating, Commander." The patterns across Zixra's skin shifted to deep purple before she stormed out. Nora smiled to herself. The commander's reaction had confirmed several of her hypotheses about Vexian emotional displays. Over the next few days, various specialists attempted to interrogate Nora. She answered their questions readily while asking dozens of her own, turning each session into an impromptu cultural exchange. Her genuine enthusiasm and quick mind seemed to confound them. Zixra observed each session, growing increasingly agitated as Nora charmed her way through the Vexian scientific community. The commander's own visits became more frequent, though she claimed they were purely supervisory. "Your people are remarkably adaptable," Zixra noted during one such visit. "Most species would be traumatized by captivity. Most species don't get to study an advanced civilization from the inside." Nora was sketching Vexian cellular structures in her notebook. "Besides, you're not very good at being intimidating. You're too curious." "I am not curious. I am vigilant." "Is that why you visited 3 times today?" Nora glanced up with a knowing smile. "To be vigilant." The commander's skin rippled with colors. "You are dangerous. Because I can see through your stern facade, or because you're starting to enjoy our conversations. Because you make me question things that should not be questioned." Zixra's voice was low, almost vulnerable. Before Nora could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The commander straightened, instantly alert. "What's happening?" Nora asked, recognizing genuine concern in the other's bioluminescent patterns. "The agricultural sector is reporting a critical emergency. Our primary food crops are dying." Nora stood. "Let me help. Plant biology is one of my specialties." "You are a prisoner. I'm a scientist. And right now, I might be your best chance at saving your food supply." Nora met all four of Zixra's eyes steadily. "Trust me." For a long moment, the commander stood frozen in indecision. Dr. Nora Rivers cursed as her research vessel's warning systems blared through the cabin. The sleek ship plummeted through Vexos's amber atmosphere, trailing smoke from its damaged engine core. "Status report," she commanded, fingers flying across the flickering control panel. "Multiple system failures detected." The ship's eye responded. "Hull integrity at 47%. Emergency landing recommended." Through the view screen, Nora watched crystalline mountains rush past, their jagged peaks glowing with bioluminescent veins. She hadn't come to this unexplored world looking for trouble. She was a xenobiologist, not a soldier. But something had attacked her ship without warning, crippling its systems. "Find me somewhere flat," she ordered, wrestling with the controls. The ship shuddered violently as another system failed. "Suitable landing zone detected. Probability of survival, 63%. Nora managed a grim smile. "I've had worse odds in grad school." The ship screamed through the lower atmosphere, heat shields barely holding. Nora glimpsed a valley floor approaching rapidly, covered in strange violet vegetation. She pulled up hard on the controls, trying to level out. The impact threw her against her restraints. Metal shrieked as the ship plowed through alien foliage before grinding to a halt. For several moments, Nora hung limply in her seat, head spinning. The taste of copper filled her mouth. When her vision cleared, she took stock of her situation. The ship was a loss. Even if she could repair it, she lacked the fuel to break atmosphere. Her emergency beacon was broadcasting, but help could take weeks to arrive. She had supplies for a month, assuming she could supplement them with local resources. First things first, she needed to assess her surroundings. Grabbing her sample kit and emergency pack, Nora forced open the damaged airlock. The air that rushed in was thick and sweet, heavy with unfamiliar scents. Her handheld analyzer showed it was breathable, if humid. Stepping onto alien soil for the first time, Nora's scientific mind kicked into high gear despite her predicament. The violet vegetation seemed to pulse with internal light. Spore clouds drifted lazily through the air, glowing like fireflies. She had just started taking readings when movement caught her eye. They emerged from the underbrush like living shadows. Tall, muscular figures with iridescent black skin that seemed to absorb light. Their armor appeared to be made from some kind of crystalline material, and they carried weapons that hummed with energy. "Fascinating," Nora breathed, raising her hand slowly. "Highly advanced indigenous sentient species. Definitely not in the database." The largest of the aliens stepped forward, easily 7 feet tall. Its face was angular, with 4 solid purple eyes that studied her intently. It spoke in a resonant voice that her universal translator struggled to parse. "You have violated sovereign Vexian space, human," it finally rendered. "Your presence here is forbidden." "My name is Dr. Nora Rivers," she replied calmly. "I'm a xenobiologist on a peaceful research mission. My ship was attacked and forced to crash land. I mean no harm." The alien's eyes narrowed. "I am Commander Zixra of the Vexian Defense Force. Your kind are not welcome here. You will come with us for questioning." As more warriors emerged from the vegetation, Nora noticed something odd. They all moved with an almost synchronized grace, as if connected somehow. A hive mind, perhaps? No, the individuals seemed too distinct. Some kind of shared consciousness then. "I'm happy to answer any questions," she said. "Though I'd be particularly interested in learning more about your species' apparent telepathic abilities. The implications for evolutionary biology are fascinating." Zixra made a sound that might have been amusement or annoyance. You are in no position to make scientific inquiries, human. You are now our prisoner. Prisoner is such an adversarial term, Nora replied. I prefer unexpected research opportunity. The commander's eyes flashed. Your species' arrogance is legendary. You will learn humility. Actually, I'm technically quite humble. I just happen to be extremely good at what I do. Nora smiled disarmingly. Shall we discuss this somewhere more comfortable? I'd love to hear more about your civilization's development. As they led her away through the ethereal forest, Nora's mind was already racing with observations and hypotheses. She might be their prisoner, but this was also the opportunity of a lifetime. She just had to stay alive long enough to learn their secrets, and perhaps teach them a few things about humanity in return. The agricultural sector stretched beneath a vast crystalline dome, filled with rows of luminescent plants that normally pulsed with life. Now, large sections had turned a sickly gray, their light dimming rapidly. Nora moved through the fields with purpose, taking samples while Zixra watched intently. The spores are corrupted, Nora announced, examining a sample through her portable microscope. Something's disrupting their natural bioluminescence cycle. Without that energy, the plants can't photosynthesize properly. Our scientists already determined this, Zixra stated, though her skin patterns showed interest. What they cannot determine is why. Nora looked up from her microscope with a gleam in her eye. Because they're thinking like Vexians, you're so connected to your world's natural rhythms that you've missed something obvious. She gestured to the dying plants. These crops aren't failing naturally. They're being attacked. By what? Zixra moved closer, her tall form casting shadows through the dim light. Engineered parasites. See these molecular patterns. Nora projected her findings onto the nearest crystal wall. They're too precise to be natural evolution. Someone's deliberately targeting your food supply. The commander's skin darkened with anger. The Syndicate. They've been trying to force our world into their trading alliance. Well, they just made a critical mistake. Nora was already pulling equipment from her research kit. They understand Vexian biology, but they don't understand basic Earth science. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the ones you'd never think of. Working through the night, Nora developed a treatment using modified Earth bacteria to counter the parasites. Zixra stayed with her, asking increasingly intelligent questions about her methods. The commander's initial skepticism gave way to genuine scientific curiosity. Your approach is unorthodox, Zixra admitted, watching Nora apply the treatment to a test plot. Our scientists would never consider introducing foreign organisms. Sometimes you need an outside perspective. Nora smiled as the treated plants began to regain their glow. Your civilization's connection to your environment is beautiful, but it can also be a limitation. You're so in harmony with your world that you struggle to think outside of it. And you believe harmony is a weakness. No, I believe it's a strength. But strength without flexibility can break under pressure. Nora turned to face the commander. That's why Earth sends scientists to study other worlds. We learn from each other, grow stronger together. Zixra's skin rippled with thoughtful patterns. Yet your people have a reputation for conquest. Some do. Others of us prefer discovery and understanding. Nora reached out and touched one of the recovering plants. Look, the treatment's working. Your crops will survive. You saved our food supply, Zixra said softly. Why? You could have used this crisis to negotiate your freedom. Because it was the right thing to do. Because I'm a scientist, and this is what I do. Nora met the commander's four-eyed gaze, and because I wanted to show you that humans can be trusted. The patterns across Zixra's skin shifted to a color Nora had never seen before. A soft, luminescent blue that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her words. Perhaps we have been too quick to judge your species. Before Nora could respond, alarms blared through the dome. A junior officer burst in, skin flashing with urgent patterns. Commander, Our long-range sensors have detected multiple Syndicate warships entering the system. Zixra's expression hardened. They mean to take advantage of our weakened state. Not if we can help it. Nora was already pulling up data on her tablet. The same principles we use to save your crops. They might just work on a larger scale, but I'll need access to your defense systems. The commander studied her for a long moment, internal conflict visible in her shifting skin patterns. Finally, she nodded. Show me what you have in mind. As they hurried to the command center, Nora realized she was no longer thinking of herself as a prisoner or even just a scientist. She had found something worth fighting for on this alien world, both in its people and in one particular commander whose bioluminescent patterns had begun to fascinate her in ways that went far beyond scientific curiosity. The Vexian command center hummed with nervous energy as holographic displays showed the approaching Syndicate fleet. Nora worked frantically at a console, while Zixra coordinated defense preparations. Their ships use crystalline technology similar to yours, Nora explained, analyzing sensor data. But they lack your natural connection to it. We can use that weakness. Explain, Zixra commanded, her skin pulsing with strategic focus. Your people's bioluminescent abilities aren't just for show. They're a form of communication with your world's crystal matrices. Nora pulled up molecular diagrams. If we broadcast the right frequency patterns, we could disrupt their ship systems, Zixra finished, catching on quickly. But our transmitters lack the necessary power. Then we'll amplify them. Your agricultural dome's crystal structure, we can convert it into one massive broadcasting array. A junior officer interrupted. Commander, the Syndicate is hailing us. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sleek, cybernetically enhanced figure. Commander Zixra, it purred. Your defenses are weakened. Your crops are failing. Surrender now and join the Syndicate willingly. Our crops are thriving, Zixra replied coldly, and our defenses are stronger than ever. Thanks to your human pet. The Syndicate leader smiled. We've been watching. Did you think we wouldn't notice an Earth ship entering your system? How convenient that she crashed just when you needed help. Nora felt Zixra stiffen beside her. You believe I orchestrated this? She asked quietly. Our sensors detected no weapons fire when your ship crashed, the Syndicate leader continued. Perhaps because there was none. Perhaps it was all planned. A human agent sent to infiltrate and weaken the mighty Vexians. That's not. Nora started, but Zixra cut her off. Is this true? The commander's skin had gone dark, her patterns chaotic. Was your crash stage? Of course not. Nora met all four of Zixra's eyes. You've been in my mind during our shared meditations. You know who I am. The human speaks truth. A Vexian elder stepped forward, her ancient skin glowing softly. I have touched her thoughts. There is no deception. How disappointing. The Syndicate leader sighed. Still protecting her. Then you leave us no choice. All ships, begin the attack. The transmission cut off as the first energy blast struck Vexian shields. Zixra turned to Nora, her skin pattern stabilizing. How long to modify the dome? 20 minutes if your engineers help. Nora was already moving. You believe me. I believe in what I have seen, in what I have felt. Zixra's hand brushed Nora's shoulder, sending tingles through both their bodies. Go. Save us again, scientist. They raced against time as the battle raged above. Nora directed the engineers while Zixra coordinated the defense fleet. The Syndicate ships pressed their attack, but the Vexians held firm, trusting in their commander and their unlikely human ally. Finally, Nora called out, ready, but someone needs to interface directly with the crystal matrix to control the broadcast. The power levels could be fatal to a Vexian. Then I will do it. Zixra stepped forward. No. Nora blocked her path. My biology's different. I can handle it. Trust me one more time. Their eyes met in a moment of silent communication. Then Zixra's skin lit up with a pattern Nora had come to recognize. Acceptance, trust, and something deeper. "Return to me, scientist," the commander ordered softly. Nora smiled. "Always." As she interfaced with the crystal matrix, pain seared through her nervous system. But she held on, directing the amplified signal at the Syndicate fleet. One by one, their ships began to fail, crystal systems shattering under the targeted frequency assault. The last thing Nora saw before consciousness faded was Zixra's face, all four eyes wide with concern, skin glowing with that special pattern that belonged to Nora alone. Nora awoke to the sight of crystalline patterns dancing across a healing chamber ceiling. Her body tingled with residual energy from the matrix interface, but the pain had subsided. As her vision cleared, she found Zixra seated beside her, skin glowing with gentle patterns of relief. "The Syndicate?" Nora asked, her voice hoarse. "Retreated, their ships crippled." Zixra's hand found hers. "You saved our world, at great risk to yourself. Why?" "You know why." Nora squeezed the commander's hand. "The same reason you believed in me, despite the Syndicate's accusations." The patterns across Zixra's skin shifted to that unique blue that belonged to their moments together. "The Council has met. They wish to establish formal relations with Earth, with you as our primary liaison." "Me?" Nora tried to sit up, but Zixra gently pressed her back down. "Who better? You understand our biology, our technology, our ways, and you have proven that humans and Vexians can work together, can trust each other." The commander's skin rippled with amusement. "Besides, I believe you still have research to complete." "Research?" "On Vexian emotional displays through bioluminescence. You seemed particularly interested in studying my patterns." Nora felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Well, some patterns are more fascinating than others. Like this one." Zixra's skin lit up with that special glow she reserved for Nora alone. "Exactly like that one." Nora reached up to trace the patterns on Zixra's face. "Though I may need extensive observation to fully understand its meaning." "That can be arranged." The commander leaned closer. "The Council also approved the construction of a joint research facility. We have much to learn from each other." "And what about us?" Nora asked softly. "What happens now?" "Now." Zixra's four eyes sparkled. "Now we explore the greatest discovery of all. What happens when two different species choose to trust in something greater than their differences?" As their lips met, Zixra's skin erupted in a symphony of colors that Nora had never seen before. She made a mental note to document this new pattern later, much later. For now, she was content to lose herself in the embrace of her former captor, now partner in both science and life. In the weeks that followed, the joint research facility took shape, a crystal spire rising from the jungle floor. Earth ships arrived, carrying more scientists eager to learn from the Vexians. But none were quite as eager as Nora, who spent her days studying alien biology and her nights studying the increasingly complex patterns that danced across her lover's skin. "You never did tell me," Zixra said one evening as they watched twin moons rise over the crystalline forest. "What exactly made you trust me, even when I held you prisoner?" Nora smiled, tracing the luminescent patterns that flowed beneath her touch. "The same thing that made you trust me. The recognition that true strength isn't about dominance or control. It's about being willing to grow, to change, to see beauty in the unexpected. Like a human scientist and a Vexian commander." "Exactly like that." Nora kissed her softly. "Though I still need to conduct more research." "For science, of course." "Of course," Zixra agreed, her skin glowing with love's unique signature. "For science." Above them, the stars twinkled like distant crystals, witnesses to a truth as old as the universe itself, that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from conquest or control, but from the simple willingness to trust, to learn, and to love across the boundaries of worlds.